What are the 5 key mistakes holding you back as a novice lifter, and what can you do to stop making them? Before we answer that question, we first need to lay some groundwork. As a novice lifter just coming into the fitness space, you may have heard terms like volume, frequency, intensity, and fatigue thrown around left, right, and centre. But what does this mean? And more importantly, how does it affect you as a novice lifter? Well, these are really just different vectors that work in conjunction with each other and against each other at the same time in affecting muscular growth. And while being simple in concept, they can be difficult and tricky to apply personally. Volume simply refers to the number of sets for a given muscle group in a given time period. This usually refers to weekly volume, but it can refer to something like session volume, the number of sets in a given session. So if I do 3 sets of bench press and 3 sets of dumbbell flies per week, then my weekly volume would be 6, right? Seems simple enough. Well, it's not as simple as it seems, first of all, because those 3 sets of bench press don't just hit the chest, do they? No, they hit the triceps and shoulders as well, to a lesser degree. But how much? And how do I quantify it? Well, a good rule of thumb is that for every set for a main mover, the accessory mover will be half a set. So 1 set of bench press is 1 set for the chest and half a set for the triceps. This brings us to our first mistake, doing too much. Novice lifters often hear guidelines thrown around like you need 10 to 15 sets per muscle group per week to grow minimum. And then the information's conflicted from other certain groups recommending much higher numbers. Oftentimes, this can lead to paralysis by analysis, or even worse, trying to follow an impossible program. This is often made worse by the hard to track accessory volume for small muscle groups, as we covered earlier. You may find that this can lead to you doing too much. You see, there's a scale that we need to follow as lifters between something called minimum effective volume and maximum recoverable volume. These are exactly what they sound like: the minimum volume needed to grow and the maximum volume that you can recover from. As a lifter, the hard part is staying between these 2 points, in the sweet spot where growth happens. My personal recommendation is to ignore the accessory volume from compound lifts and start by doing anywhere from 6 to 12 working sets for large muscle groups and 3 to 6 working sets for smaller muscle groups. You should be on the lower end of the set scale if you find low volume, high intensity style training suits you, and on the higher end if you find you struggle hitting failure and prefer endurance style training. I would recommend splitting this volume across 2 compound lifts and 1 isolation for large muscle groups, and 1 compound and 1 isolation for smaller muscle groups. So I just mentioned intensity, right? But what does that mean exactly? And how does it fit into your program and volume recommendations? Intensity, put simply, is the proximity to failure, meaning the point where you can no longer do a rep of an exercise with safe form. Not perfect form, safe form. It is okay to get form breakdown on an exercise where it's safe to do so, like a barbell curl or tricep pushdown, but not during squats, for example. So that brings me to the second and third mistakes that novice lifters often make. Number 2, too much focus on perfect form, and number 3, not knowing their true failure point. Maybe they suffer from a constant nip stream straight to the brain.
Jeff Nipper, Jeff Nipper, Jeff Nipper.
Or think that Dr. Mike's going to crush their skull with his BJJ black belt if they deviate from a perfect 2-second eccentric. But novice lifters often get caught in the trap of doing too much volume too far away from failure because of fear of form breakdown. Let me break this down. What do you think will cause more stimulus for growth? This set of machine incline presses I performed to absolute failure with some safe form breakdown, or this set of pec flies done with perfect technique far away from failure? I would argue the first. Unfortunately, many lifters simply don't know when they're close to failure or have reached failure. Cue Dr. Mike. My recommendation for fixing this mistake is to safely learn how to go to absolute failure, using a piece of safe equipment on a single joint movement. For example, take a leg extension machine and keep doing reps until your leg no longer moves even an inch. That's well into failure. Even better, get a large pirate called Leroy to scream at you during your sets. It worked well for Dorian. Number 4, not enough frequency. Frequency, as a concept, is the frequency of exposures to stimulus per week to a given muscle group. This one's more down to personal preference, as many people have made once a week frequency work very well for them, such as myself with my bro split program that I followed for a while. But just as many people, such as Basement Bodybuilding or Eric Bugenhagen, have made very high frequency, full body, everyday training work. However, as a novice lifter, there's a very good reason why one overall training approach will work better for you in your first year of training. That approach being 3 times per week frequency. The reason for this specific frequency, first of all, is that your body and brain are not yet accustomed to the exercises you're performing, meaning that activating the target muscles can be difficult. This means that the stimulus and fatigue that you can create in a given session is much lower than trained lifters. So, creating more frequent stimulus, both to train movement efficiency and proprioception, as well as generate fatigue, is important. I would recommend performing 3 full body sessions per week with at least 1 day's rest between each, and following the volume recommendations of earlier. Finally, the last mistake I see novice lifters getting caught up in is number 5, getting caught up in the minutia and killing the fun of lifting. This mistake is by far the most important to fix, as often conflicting sources can make you program hop too often, killing your gains. One week you're a hardcore Mensa fanboy, and next week you hop on the volume train. This is simply due to shiny object syndrome and getting bored with a certain approach. The number one way to fix this is to learn the basics of training programming, and then finding your own tailored approach that keeps you excited about lifting. When you look at all of the best advanced natural lifters, they all have very different approaches, goals, and very different physiques. So finding your niche and what works for you is always most important. Thank you for watching. That's an average worker. Tune in out.